In this video, I'm going to share with you one of the most common chords that are used in pop songs. If you learn this chord, then it will make learning pop music so much easier. And if you watch until the end, I'm going to give you an exercise that you can use that will help you learn up to 12 versions of this particular chord. So here's the thing. There's different types of chords, and you got 3-note chords, you got 4-note chords. 3-note chords are used in pop music for the most part. 4-note chords, 5-note chords are used in more advanced genres like R&B, jazz, gospel, blues, that sort of thing. So again, we're making it simple because this is for beginners. Now, there are there's 4 different types of 3-note chords. The 3-note chords, by the way, are called triads because there are 3 notes to them. There's a particular structure to triads. I'm going to get into that in a second. But there are 4 types of triads. I'm going to focus on one of those 4. And there's really 2 main types that are used in pop music. There's the major chords, which sound happy. Then there's the minor chords that sound sad. So if I were to play a song, right, in a major key, let's just take the same song so you can hear the difference. So if I was to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right, with major triads for the most part, it would sound like the regular song. And by the way, it's my left hand in this case that's playing the chords. So it sounds very happy and chipperish and all of that, right? What if I were to take these same chords and make it into a minor key? You will hear almost instantly the difference. Right? So it sounds very like Halloween type of style. It's funny because a lot of my students, when I give them that demonstration, they're like, I like the minor version better. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So a major triad sounds happy. A minor triad sounds sad. Right? And it doesn't matter what color the notes are. There's a calculation. There's 2 ways to calculate the difference between major and minor triad, but I'll do a minor video, or I'll do a video on the minor triad on a different time. I want to focus all of my attention on just the major triad, because it's really important to understand that this chord plays a major role in its presence in pop music, right? So you can play this in different keys. So you can play it in this key, you can play it in this key, you can play it in this key, sorry, that was minor. This is major. You can play it in this key, you can play it in this key, you can play it in this key. So you can play this same major triad in different keys, and that will help expand you being able to play other songs in other keys, right? So again, major sounds happy, minor sounds sad and gloomy. So before I get into exactly how to play a major triad, I want to let you know that I do have a free Piano in 3 Steps video where if you are a complete beginner, you want to get your foot in the door when it comes to learning the basics of piano, that 3-step video will give you what you need in order to understand how piano works and how to name the keys, and gives you exercises and all that stuff. So there's a link in the description box to sign up for that free 3 steps video, and you'll get some other perks and some free surprises that will come with that video as well, which will be sent to your email. So here is how to play the major triad. There are 2 different ways to think about this. Before I get into that, right? If you were to work with a scale, let's say if we were to work with the C major scale, right? So the C major scale starts with C, and then, so remember, C is the white key to the left of the 2 black keys, and it goes C, D, E, F, G, and then after G it goes A, and then B, and then C, and the sequence restarts over. So to play a C scale, it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So I just played a C major scale, right? So if you are familiar, now each of these keys have their own scale attached to them, right? So C sharp has its own major scale. The E major scale, it starts with E and ends with E. Sorry. So the notes are different, but you can hear how they are similar to each other. So if you get to a point where you are really familiar with your scales, you can use the scale to build out the major triad. So here's what I mean. So C, if we are starting with the C scale, C is note number 1, E is the second note, D is the second note, E is the third note, F is the fourth note, G is the fifth note, A is the sixth note, B is the seventh note, and these numbers are referring to how far they are from the first note. So C is the first note, right? D is the second, E is the third note because it's 3 notes from C, 1, 2, 3, right? So the reason why it's important to know these numbers is because a triad has what's called a root, a third, and a fifth. So in this case, if we are building a C major triad, C would be the root. And if we were to use the scale to calculate the other notes, all you have to do is you found the root, but then you find the third. So you go 1, 2, 3, that lands you on E. And then if you have to find the fifth of the key, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a major triad has a root, a third, and a fifth. So if you want to figure out a major triad, one way to do it is to learn the major scale for that key. Whatever the root is, you learn the scale for that root, and then just find the root, the third, and the fifth of that scale, and then boom, you have a major triad. Same thing happens when you have a minor triad. If you look for the minor triad, just learn the minor scale for that root, and then you find the root, the third, and the fifth of that minor scale, which again is for a different video. That is one way to figure out what to play in terms of a major triad. Now, what if you were getting out the gate and you don't know your scales and you can't really use that to figure out the root, the third, and the fifth? Another way that you can practice or to play your major scale or your major triads, or to build a major triad, and this applies to any key. If you wanted to say, figure out how to build a C major triad, you start with C, which is the root, and then you can count by using what is called half steps or half tones. So what is a half step or a half tone? To go from C to this note, which is C sharp, the distance between C and C sharp is 1 half step. To go from C sharp to D, to go to the very next key, is another 1 half step. So what does this mean? If you think of the numbers 4 and 3, what you're doing is you're counting the number of half steps to get from this key to this key, and the half steps you need to get from this key to this key. So to get from the root to the third, you count 4 half steps. So you start with the root, and you go 1 half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps, 4 half steps, and you land on that same E, right? And then to get from E, you land on the third, which in this case is E. If you get from the third to the fifth, you count an additional 3 half steps. So you start from here and you go 1 half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps, and then you get to the fifth of that triad, right? So start with the root, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then you just figured out all 3 notes of the triad. If you're playing the triad with your right hand, you want to play the root with your thumb, the third finger, the next note with your middle finger, and the top note with your pinky. And that's for pretty much any triad, right? Any major triad. So let's go with a different key, right? And this is I'm going to give you an exercise, which is basically, okay, before I get into that. So let's say if I wanted to build an E major triad, then E would be naturally the first note. And guess what? You would just do the same thing. You count 4 half steps, which will bring you to 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you see how this is a black key, but it's still the correct note. And then you count 3 half steps from here, and you go 1, 2, 3. And then you bring your thumb, middle finger, pinky, and you have an E major triad. The exercise I want you to do for maybe the next couple of weeks is to figure out, just go through each of these, right? So you start with the C major triad, and for each day I want you to practice playing at least 3 other triads. So you can even go with the black keys and go from there, and then maybe do another one, and do another one, and just practice playing them, and just do maybe like 3 triads a day. And by like the end of the week, you should be able to have gone through all 12 of the keys in their major triad versions. So if you want to learn more about chords and you want to learn all things chords, basic chords, I have a playlist here that this video is a part of, where you can, check out some other videos that I have about chords or similar to this. Check out that, and it should be at the top right of this screen. So if you like this content, please subscribe, turn on the notification button for new videos, and always like, comment, and share. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in a different video.